Eric?
Yeah,
You ready?
absolutely.
This meeting is being conducted in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by advertisement in the Cape May Star and Wave, on the Township website, and posted on the bulletin boards of Township Hall.
All right, if we could all please rise for Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance. All right, if we could have roll call, please.
Councilmember Conrad?
Here.
Councilmember Perry?
Here.
Councilmember Roy?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Sippel?
Here.
Mayor Simonson?
Here. All right, our first order of business is Jackie Hinker here? Come on up. Discuss our veterans opportunities.
Yes.
Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to thank all of you because maybe all of you don't know, but Lower Township has been instrumental in helping get information for our veterans in the community. Jim Ridgway really helped out getting us a veterans symposium in the Millman Center, so I appreciate all that. That was prior to my employment with the VA, too, by the way. So we plan on trying to do more of that. Lower Township is very gracious with our veterans. As you know, one's sitting right there. But what has happened now is the VA has opened an outreach team. So I cover Atlantic County and Cape May County. Cape May County is my duty station on the Coast Guard base. So I have a whole stack of cards to hand out to you. What we do is enrollment, but we also put out fires. So if there's a veteran who's been waiting on a claim for a long time, not getting an answer, we work for the office of the director. There's no one in between. So we have the capability to get on the phone and call all the right people and find out what the holdup is and what's happening. So we've been able to help several veterans in our area already. I think every day I help at least one or more veterans. So this job's a blessing. But I need you guys, if you could, to keep up the awareness with our veterans in Cape May County. I mean, as you know, it's a numbers game. So we need to boost our enrollment here in Cape May County so that we can get the services that the other counties are getting. The beautiful new CBOC that happened, the clinical-based outreach clinic in Vineland, they have more numbers than we do. But our veterans are the furthest ones away. So in my heart, my job is to make sure that we boost our enrollment so that we get the services down here in Cape May County that we really need, and the services in the community. If you've watched anything that Secretary Shulkin is talking about, it's about care in the community. A lot of people don't know that Cape Regional is signed on. They have a provider agreement. So it depends on how things are written with our doctors. If our primary care doctor at one of the clinical-based outreach clinics writes that's a hardship or, anything that they can't travel the distance, then they can get care in the community. All the specialty doctors at Cape Regional are included in that. So we're trying to get the word out there, let the veterans know what services they're entitled to, and thanks to Lower Township again, it was Eileen Kreis and Jim Ridgway that made it possible for us to have a veterans outreach tent at all the ferry concerts. So we'll be able to touch many veterans, and even the ones that come down here on vacation or just come, our summer residents, they need services as well. And when they're here, they're our veterans. So they have services for them over at our CBOC in Cape May. But it's also our hope that by 2019, we'll have that CBOC off that base, and it's going to be somewhere in Cape May County that's more accessible with more parking, and that's our goal. So I thank you guys for letting me come out. I'll leave my business cards. If you have a veteran that comes here and presents for any reason whatsoever that they need help with, please call me. That's my cell phone number on that card. Don't hesitate. We have a homebound veteran that you know of that is in need of services. I'll go to them. So please let me know. All right?
Absolutely.
Any
Thank
questions
you.
for me?
No, I just want to thank you for coming out, Jackie, and sharing information. And a couple things I'm going to talk about tonight. And when comes to myself for comments is that there's actually a meeting on July 15th as far as the new facility
Yes.
they want to build. So that's some information we, council, we actually put out to the residents here too.
Okay, good, so that we'll have more people, because the last one, we didn't have as many veterans as we would have liked, but there was a torrential rainstorm, and I think that kept people back. So if we can get as many people out there at the Public Safety Building and Cape May Courthouse on the 15th, that would be awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
And if you have any other pamphlets or
Thank
anything,
you.
Jackie, if you have any other pamphlets or anything, please bring them over.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to give you this giant stack of cards, Jim. Thank you so much for everything.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
They said they're looking for a facility for a clinic down here in Cape May County. 'Cause I'm a veteran myself. And I would always think that a good place for it would be as Cape May County Airport. That'd be an ideal location.
That's one option that they're looking at. I mean, yeah, and there's several different options that they're looking at. Of course, we can give suggestions and ideas, but the ultimate answer comes from, above.
Thank you.
But if you know a veteran and they're not enrolled in the healthcare, please grab a card and don't hesitate to call me. Okay?
Thank you. Thanks.
I have another appointment.
All right, we move down to our consent agenda. Any questions or comments from council on the consent agenda?
No comments?
No comments. All right, we open it to the public on the consent agenda. Does anyone have any questions or comments concerning the consent agenda? Come on up.
I don't understand the
You state your, just, I know you've been up, but your name and
Washington
address.
Boulevard, North Cape May. The ordinance there about an ordinance of the Township of Lower vacating a portion of Washington Avenue. I don't know what that means.
It's a paper street it's the end of Washington Avenue in the Villas, I believe. And it's between two houses. It's just a dead end. And nope, Washington Avenue.
All right, I'm wrong, okay.
It's different.
Well, still, it's the same thing. It's if we have a paper street or something and the homeowners on the side, we're not going to build or do anything with it. It's not going anywhere. If they want part of it, they take it and then it goes on tax rolls. Right now, it's not taxable or anything.
It was just a general question on it, and I did take it wrong.
No bayfront is being vacated.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, questions or comments? Seeing none, we close that portion.
Approval of minutes from the June 19th, 2017 minutes. Approval of the closed session minutes from June 19th, 2017. Resolutions number 2017-195 through 2017-206. And ordinance number 2017-09, an ordinance of the Township of Lower vacating a portion of Washington Avenue. This is the first reading of this ordinance. The second reading and public hearing for ordinance 2017-09 will be scheduled for August 7th, 2017.
All right, we get a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
I'll second it.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Perry?
Yes.
Councilmember Roy?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sippel?
Yes.
Mayor Simonson?
Yes.
Resolution number 2017-207. This is a resolution authorizing the payment of vouchers. This is a voucher for Lower Township Rescue for expenses in the amount of $10,000.
Any questions or comments from council?
None.
Seeing none. Any from the public? Questions or comments regarding this resolution? Seeing none, close it.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Councilmember Conrad?
Recused.
Councilmember Perry?
Yes.
Councilmember Roy?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sippel?
Yes.
Mayor Simonson?
Yes. Move down to council comments or manager comments, whoever wants to go first.
Comments right now for council. Yes, I just would like to send a thank you out to the teamwork of our rec department, the police department, emergency services, for a job well done for our Independence Day activities, which involved the record amount of vendors, additional rides, as long as we added another band this year, and overall, it was just a great night in the Bay for Lower Township, and a lot of people were involved with making that happen and got it cleaned up by the next morning, and we were back to normal. That's all I have.
Tom?
I was going to comment on the fireworks and the job well done, especially Public Works, the police, all the emergency service, the fire companies were out there. Everyone cooperated to make sure the public had a great time. I was walking around, everything looked great, and I know Public Works cleans up well afterwards. Also, I want to touch, we have that new vacant property ordinance full in effect. If there is a vacant property near you that is not being maintained, please contact the township. If you live in the villas, contact me. We will do what we can to get that done. We have to get them registered so we can start we can find out what we have. I'm driving around trying to find some in the villas, that there are some I got questions with code enforcement, but we all have to work as a team. Let's make this place look a lot better.
The only thing I want to do is echo the comments that the manager made, Mr. Ridgway made, in regards to the Independence Day. It seems like it's grown every year since it started. I remember back in 1994, I believe it was, when the first year that we had fireworks on the bayfront that were sponsored by the Delaware River Bay Authority. From that time to this date to right now, it's totally different. The bayfront area was just loaded with people, with vendors, and the homeowners around 3-4 blocks away from the bay they were all having barbecues and parties, and it was a very, very well-attended celebration for sure. And again, the township employees did an outstanding job. It was terrific.
Councilman Roy?
I'd like to also echo those sentiments. I, too, had opportunity to walk around down there, and was really quite impressed by the people themselves, how they behaved themselves. Everyone was enjoying themselves. Great entertainment, spectacular fireworks presentation. We actually, I believe, showcased the county as far as our Independence Day celebration. So, again, thank you to the Public Works and all involved. They did a terrific job.
Okay, Mayor, I also have to say thank you to the township employees for the event, the fireworks. It was a great night, and I look at it, anytime a family can go out there and enjoy themselves without digging their pocket, pulling a lot of money, that's a good night. So I want to thank the township employees for that. Also, when talking about the camp, a little update on the camp we're going to run in July 25th, 26th, 27th. It's going pretty good. We've received some donations from the VFW, the Elks, some small businesses. So as far as the funding, it was kind of last minute, but that's going well. Should be a good camp. On the veterans note, what Jackie was talking about earlier, Jackie Hinker, on July 15th at 2 p.m., from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., Congressman Lobiano's office and the Cape May County Board of Chosen Freeholders and Wilmington VA Hospital is going to hold a discussion. That's Saturday, July 15th, from 2 to 4 p.m. So anybody's available to go up there, and they're going to be talking about the possible location for a new facility coming to Cape May County, as Jackie mentioned, in probably 2019. Also, there's another bit of information out there from the Wilmington VA Center for veterans that process claims or applying for some VA medical benefits. If they get denied, in the past, they had to drive to Wilmington, Delaware to appeal the decision. As of last week, they can now go to the Cape May County VA outpatient clinic at the Coast Guard base and do a virtual appeal online without traveling back and forth from Wilmington, Delaware. So that's a good thing also. So things are going in the right direction for the veterans I see in Cape May County. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. I also, like everyone else, just like to say what a great event we had. And I agree with Councilman Roy as far as, the whole county was, it was impressive. And just the way everybody worked together, it was just a great atmosphere, safe, friendly. I took a ride down there the next morning, and it was all cleaned up. There wasn't a speck of trash anywhere. So once again, our employees did a great job. Couple meetings over the last few weeks. I know the manager and I met with people from the Diamond Beach section about emergency response and such, so we're working on some solutions there. but also met with Chris Constantino, who is from Coastal Engineering. That's the company doing the berm from Hereford's Inlet down to Diamond Beach. But they're also doing another project here in Lower Township in Spicer's Creek over on the canal, which is eroding away. So Chris actually took time to come down here and meet with myself and Kathleen Hayes, a resident, and took a look, and he's pushing ahead, trying to get our project moved up to take care of that, so we appreciate that. Also met with Mr. Rizzo, will be happy to hear. I met with Dale Foster and Will Morey and Tim Donahue, and got an itemized road plan as to which roads will be done in the township by the county. They're also going to be signed off on. We're going to be putting road strips in. They're the strips that go down the middle of the road that help with safety for cars passing, or so that people don't go into the wrong lane, go head on, for all the county roads in Lower Township. So we appreciate that. But some of the roads that are on this list, Breakwater Road, okay, from Fishing Creek Road to Briarwood Drive, and also from Lexington to 610 Breakwater Road. Seashore Road from 768 Seashore Road to Cold Spring Cemetery, and the intersection, thank God, of Town Bank Road and Seashore. So everybody, can I get an amen? Thank you. Academy Road from Seashore Road westward, approximately 1,250 feet, which is obviously, if anyone's ridden Academy Road lately, it's quite the obstacle course. So, Fulling Mill Road, another hallelujah, amen. So we've been pushing, and Middle Township's also been pushing on their end. So we're going to have that resurfaced, and some safety aspects also are being looked into. And of course, our Bayshore Road, which is going to take a while. You know, I also have a list of easements, which that's one of the things people don't realize hold up a lot of these projects is, you know, people have to be willing to give up land, and that's not always an easy thing to do, to put in the proper sidewalks and widen the road and things like that. So Bayshore Road is also on the list from Sandman Boulevard to Fishing Creek. So I will keep bugging them and being persistent and making sure that they know that we need this done as soon as possible. Along with that, I just have our summer concert series again. Just reminding everyone, it starts next week at 5:30 on our ferry grounds. So next week kicks it off on the 12th with Danny V's, which is a Billy Joel tribute band. July 19th is Amish Outlaws, which is a cover band. July 26th is the B Street Band, Bruce Springsteen tribute band, if you've never seen them. There's probably not too many people that haven't. On the August 2nd, we have the Glimmer Twins, which is a Rolling Stones tribute band. On August 9th, it's the Soul Cruisers. August 16th is Triple Rail Turn, Phil Billy, which is country. The 23rd of August is Separate Ways, which is a Journey tribute band. And on the 30th of August, we have a special benefit concert raising money for youth sports and athletics and other things. You have anything else?
Just when I talk about the Whale of the Day, North Cape May.
Oh, right. Whale of the Day is, it's this week, right? Not this. Yeah, it's the 8th. It's this week, this Saturday, and it starts at, is it really 6 a.m.? I didn't realize it.
Close the road at 6
All
a.m.
right, they're closing the road at 6 a.m. I usually get started around 8 until 5 p.m. Again, Whale of the Day is this coming Saturday, so make sure you get down and check it out. Support the Property Owners Association as well, and just be reminded that the roads close at 6 a.m. So hopefully the weather will be great, and we'll have a great festival again this weekend. So seeing nothing else, I will close that portion and open it up to the public for comments, questions. Just please state your name and your address if you come up to the microphone for the record. Thank you. Yes. That's you, Mr. Rizzo. How are you?
Excuse me, I wasn't sure. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I'm glad to hear that things are going to be done in Lower Township. I don't know whether it was me griping to you guys about it and you took it to the county, but it's good to get things done. You know, we don't want to be the poor stepsisters of this county. We're important in this county. We have more residents in this township than other municipalities. And why should the Wildwoods and Cape May and all the other barrier islands get money that we're paying into? So I want to thank you again for that. By the way, I want to, as an aside, I visited the cemetery that people worked on. I took my son back there. He was unaware that it was even there. I knew it was there, but whoever did that job, the volunteers and the people who came, I couldn't walk. I had to drive in most of it and almost got stuck. But it looks really wonderful. Most of you have been down to see it. It looks terrific. And I thank everyone who volunteered to do that. Great job.
And
As
Mr.
far as
Rizzo,
the
we
roads-
will be honoring all those volunteers at a
I hope so.
future. Absolutely, yep.
As far as the roads are concerned, over the last week or so, I have seen some repairs on them. I mean, there's patches on top of patches, but at least you don't sink into them anymore. You just bounce over them. So that's a big improvement.
Well, that's our
really.
public work
I appreciate
doing that.
whatever you fellas can do when you go up to that county. I talked about it at the MUA meeting this afternoon at 5 o'clock, and they said to me, you go to the county. I have trouble getting to this meeting. I'm not going to drive up to that county. You're my
We'll take care of
representatives.
that, yeah.
So when we have a problem, I want you gentlemen to take it to the county and give them hell if you need to. Because, you know, you gentlemen are all Republicans, and they're all Republicans up there. I, as a Democrat, registered Democrat, can't do one damn thing with that county. So thank you very much.
Mr. Rizzo, we always appreciate your constructive criticism, just so you know. And we can take it, and we appreciate it. Yes, I see a hand up right here.
Over here.
How you doing?
Hello.
My name's George Walsh, and I live at 36 West Virginia Avenue. This concerns the gentleman, I'm vision impaired, so the gentleman next to you was talking about maintenance of lots that the township owns.
Of lots?
Lots. Building lots.
I was talking about vacant properties, but the.
Well, this is a vacant
okay.
property. Township owns it. We have 2 trees on the back of our property that the township owns. It's on your land. It's mostly on my land now because it's leaning. And there's 1 rotten tree next to it. And we were told that you would have to pay somebody to take them down. That was a few months ago. Never happened yet. We were told that we had 3 choices on this property. It'd be sold, let it go back to nature. And what was the other one? Excuse me. Just let it go back to nature. Well, oh, we didn't want to buy it because we got too much property at our age. We have photos.
I will see them, and also if, actually, I'll probably, if possible, are you going to be home tomorrow?
Yes.
I would like to drive by and see that also. And I need to get the manager involved also, because if it is township property, we'll have to try to get something done on that.
Because if we get,
Yeah, this is the first we're hearing about this.
if we get winds like we got last year, these trees are going to come down. Because it's in wetlands, and that's what uprooting all these trees. Mr. Conroy owns all the wetlands back there, as you probably know. And he did come and top some of the trees. Well, there's an awful lot of trees back there, and they're awful tall. And this is what got us concerned. It's not so much that they let it grow back to nature that's going to go towards the street. It's coming over my fence. And I'm too old to be cutting this stuff down. I can't see, so I need your help.
Got the contact information.
Okay, I'll get
for you.
from Karen, I'll get the contact information. I have your address. And, okay, if you just would give them to Mr. Ridgway right now.
I should write the address down for you.
36 West Virginia. Is it Conroy or?
Inherited it because of no tax payments. It became township property then.
Okay, we will look into that and find out what we have to do. And I will be there.
They give us three options. You buy it, we'll put it up for sale, or we're gonna let it go back to nature. It's growing out, it's gonna be in West Virginia Avenue, and that's two-way traffic. That's
It-
that we're living on.
They do mow it, but the mowing part is getting shorter and shorter and shorter because it's growing out towards the street.
It's almost, it's about 6 feet before
Okay.
it goes into the street, and I mean, this is brush that is like 2 stories high. I can't believe that they let
That's-
it get that way.
I agree with you. We don't need that look in the village whatsoever.
Thank you.
People are dumping trash, they see that, and other people come dumping twigs, branches, and everything else, and the township picks it up, then you have to call the township back to come back again.
And I'm a street sweeper. I'm out there picking up trash and sweeping the street. And it's just going on and on and on.
I'll give you a call sometime tomorrow and stop by.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
All right, anyone else? I see a couple hands. How about right behind Mr. Rizzo there in the blue shirt? Come on up.
My name is Maria Kaplan. I live at 136 Racetrack Drive in North Cape May. I actually have two. I came with one issue, but then when you started talking about the abandoned property issue, my question is to that, what is considered a vacant or a vacant property? Are you calling, like, what is that considered?
If there's no owner that's there maintaining it or it's foreclosed upon.
Okay, because there is a property, it's 119 Cliffside Road in North Cape May. The property line partially is backed up to my backyard. When I bought my property, their property was actually partially deeded 6 inches onto my property. You could actually see the little dotted lines where they have a, I don't even know what it is, but it's a brick, cinder brick, 3-sided thing
The survey marker.
that no, it's a building. It's like
Building?
It used to be a shower or something. It's connected to their house. It sits 6 inches on my property. They were told by the code enforcement a year ago to put a roof on that, and what they did was come out and laid 2x4s across it. And it's been that way for a year, and no one's been back to it. They have someone come and cut the grass. They own several other properties in the area, but the house itself is uninhabitable. Nobody stays in it, nobody can live in it, and there's no water hookup to it.
We'll get the code enforcement out there.
Yep.
And
Code enforcement's been out there.
Yeah, but things changed once we got this vacant or property ordinance in
Okay,
place.
okay, all right, because that would be great, because the house is definitely an eyesore in that area.
And that's what this whole thing is, to try to get this.
Awesome, awesome.
I will
move
be
on
out
that.
there in the next week. I will be out there personally.
So that's my first, am I allowed to have 2 issues?
Sure. You've been brief, so.
So, my second issue pertains to our animal control, which is subsidized, right? It's Sure Animal Control.
Yes.
Okay. For the most part, Sure Animal Control is only actually in Lower Township 1 or 2 days a week. The rest of the time, they are in other township areas, so that if you have a crisis or an emergency with an animal, whether it be stray or domesticated, there's times when you have to wait at least 45 minutes to an hour for an animal control officer to get to you. That's point number 1. Point number 2 is if you call them for help after hours, which is after 5 o'clock, with, let's say, any type of injured animal on your property, and it could be a bunny, a bird. In one case on Fishing Creek Road, it was a coyote. They won't come out until the next business day. They want you to call them on the next business day so that they can come out and observe what's going on. The last incident that I'm talking about with the coyote was on Fishing Creek Road on someone's property. animal control was called that there was an injured or sickly coyote on the property, and within a day, the person found it dead under their deck. So I want to know, like, who do you call? If you have an injured animal in your yard, whether it be wildlife or not, nobody wants to see that in their yard, or any type of suffering or something laying on the side of the road, knowing full well that nobody's going to pick it up. If you call the police department, they immediately advise you to call Shore Animal Control. Shore Animal Control does not have enough manpower within our township to truly take care of the animal problem that we have here. And it is a vast problem. The last part of this conversation is loose dogs or unleashed dogs. I know as a dog owner that we have a leash law in Lower Township. Your dog is supposed to be on a leash if it's not fenced in on your property. It's not supposed to be loose on your front steps so that if somebody else walks by or another dog walks by, it can just run out to the street and start chasing you, correct? Yes?
6-foot leash law, yes.
Okay, so if you call the police with an incident like that, they tell you to call animal control. And when you call animal control, it's a 45-minute wait until they get to you. Are you supposed to, like, follow the bad doggy home and find out where it lives, or find out where the people who aren't following the rules live? And then it becomes a problem amongst neighbors. Is there any way that leash law can be enforced without, members of the community, like, duking it out because people can't pay attention to the leash law? Where I live, we have people in the area who cannot even walk their dog on leashes because of loose dogs. Dogs that are getting out of people's yards, dogs that are not on leashes on the front of their yards, and people who, although own properties in the area, come down for the weekend and don't feel it's their need to participate in the leash law. So, I mean, like, is there like, can you post something in the tax bill memo or remind people that, hey, even though Town Bank is, there's no sidewalks. It's mostly, it looks more countryside than the Villas does, but that doesn't give you the right to just stroll down the street with your dog not on a leash.
I agree with you.
So what can be done with that? What can be done about that?
I want to wait till you're finished, because you gave me a litany of questions. I do have a few answers for you. So,
okay, good.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's start with our contract with animal control, which I would tell you we probably have by far the best contract of all the communities, because something that we demanded before we signed on 2 years ago is that from Memorial Day to Labor Day, they have to be here, and not only here, they have to be on that beach, okay, for a minimum 2 hours a day. That's A. No one else has that where they have to walk it. Secondly, I get a report. This weekend was a tough one because last weekend on the right at the holiday, we changed our signage down there, and we tried to condense everything in, and people were saying they didn't see it where it says no animals, where last year we really had control in the middle of the summer. Let me just go here for a second. So on Saturday, we had some issues down there. I was with animal control. We've now instituted our code enforcement people who never worked weekends before. We hired 2 more. They're out there. The police, as of July 4th, on the day of the event, we met with a group of concerned citizens about the dogs. And the chief of police, lieutenant and captain were down there. They now have a bike patrol that will be riding around North Cape May and checking on the beach. So we have a three-pronged approach, but not just with the beach, but I'm telling you, those folks are here. Your issue about nighttime, I will check that through the middle of the night. And I don't want to tell you that they're coming out at 2 in the morning, but I'm going to check that for you.
And I wouldn't expect that.
Let me go further. I was in Coyote Country about 3 months ago with calls from residents.
What's
And
Coyote Country?
Coyote Country means it's an area I'm not really familiar with.
Okay.
And I ended up with the Division of Gaming and Wildlife because they handle the coyote issues. That's not animal control.
Okay.
Okay, and I had
Okay.
to be educated in that.
Okay.
So I know such a thing existed. And trying to get to the right Division of Game and Wildlife, I traveled via phone from Trenton to Tom's River. And then I had a number of a state park, and I was very frustrated. So I hear you when it comes to that specific item, and I'm not blaming that one on animal control.
No, I see your point. I
And
get that.
we can step this up. I still want you to call the police if you have an animal problem. And I know that you might get someone that says call animal control, but in an emergency, I would say we need the police here now.
Okay.
Because they do go out. I mean, we have attacked dogs in certain areas here where dogs have attacked other dogs. And this is not an easy one, but it's not one that we're not concerned about.
Okay.
And obviously, you live there, you want to be able to walk down your street. As far as the leash law is concerned, I told you we were there Saturday. On Sunday, 9 people had to get put off the beach with dogs, even with leashes, between 11 and 4. I don't like it either. I like to be able to walk around. It's a dangerous thing. So I agree with you, and I think all of us together can help, because people are saying, well, we didn't see the signs. We put new signs up the day of the,
there.
yeah, so they're back up, and, we're going to keep trying. That's what I would tell you. We're going to try to improve this.
And my main concern is not just the beach, but the
I get
the
it.
streets in and around the beach area. Racetrack, Cliffside, Clubhouse, all the little.
No,
streets in.
I've been out on several cases where there's a dog behind the house. He's on a leash most of the time, but then all of a sudden he gets his freedom run.
Oh,
And when
yeah.
he does his freedom run, the whole neighborhood's
Oh,
in.
yeah, but that happens. Accidentally, every once in a while, dog's going to get out of the yard. But when it seems like it's the same dogs over and over again, and they don't have collars, and, my main concern is, my dog can handle herself. She'd probably like to handle me too, but I don't.
What is the area of concern? What is your area that
Dogs
you,
running
My
into the rest of the
area of
neighborhood.
concern is the dogs that are running loose.
what streets?
On racetrack, let's say just racetrack, okay? Because racetrack goes from one end, like where Town Bank is, all the way around to Clubhouse. And there's a big wooded section on both sides where kind of like curves, and it's a no dumping area. Part of the problem is the speed limit is never really, it's a waste of time posting speed limit signs because the people fly around there. And I'm just afraid that somebody's dog is going to get hit. It's going to be, left to one of the residents that live there to deal with this dog that doesn't have a collar, that is hit. And now, I've confronted the one person myself, and all he does is scream at me and give me the finger and tell me to mind my own business. But, if it happens in front of my house, it is my business. If they're in my yard and crossing through my front yard, that is my business. But, and I understand that it can't be dealt with on a regular basis, but I just wanted to know if there was some way that the leash law ordinance could be enforced, that people would know that, even if you just put signs along the street, that your dog is supposed to be on a leash when you're walking it.
Or could we get possibly also code enforcement when they're going out to the beach just to walk some of the neighborhoods and see what's going on?
Sure, write them.
Yeah, that's possible.
The signage is also,
That takes manpower, though, and I
but they're there.
understand that,
They're
you know.
going down to the beach, so why not walk
Yeah.
a couple streets at the same
Okay,
time?
all right, I thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I see two hands. Let's go
Good experience with animal.
right up front here.
Called them in the morning. Somebody's cat had gotten
No, no. I mean,
on our property and it was sickly.
All right, wait a second. We
Blinding.
have people waiting here with the, yeah, yes, please. Thanks.
Yeah,
Sorry about
we have
that.
to- Oh, yeah,
Got to go in order here.
it's all,
It's all right.
Thank you. I'm Marion Siliberti from Town Bank. To continue Maria's dog issue, it's pretty sad when you live here. I work for the school, okay? I have to get out early to walk my dog in the summer because the tourists are letting their dogs run. I'll walk my dog on a leash, my dog who has a license, shots, tag, leash. I get accused, well, you're going to start a fight, you're going to stand there. I said, I'm keeping my dog here so your dog doesn't come over to it. The abuse that you get from renters, it needs more than a leash law. You have to have the renters informed, the owners who are renting, that they are responsible to keep them on a leash. Put the responsibility on somebody because, you know, you let it go flying by. And I appreciate you having the idea of when they're out checking on the beach, but I don't even take my dog to the beach anymore.
no, but it's,
Okay?
go to the
But I'm
neighborhood.
saying, I have to walk a dog 6:30 in the morning and maybe 4:30, so I avoid 59 big either pits or labs or whatever that are, or even, in my case, on racetrack, little rugrats that'll come up and bite you. And these are the same tourists that people like me who live here, one of my neighbors has an electronic fence for a 10-year-old lab. This guy lets his two little rugrats run up and down the street, defecate on who's ever lawn, whatever, and the two dogs come onto her lawn. And she says to him, this is electronic fence for my dog. And he says, oh, that's okay, my dogs are fine. And she says, no, you don't understand, it's my dog's lawn, please get your dogs off. And like Maria says, we get met with obscenity. We live here. We don't rent, we live here every day. So to put some teeth into a leash law and ownership on for the renters and the owners would be really appreciated.
Thank
Okay?
you. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, just wait a minute. We have someone in the back with their hand up? Yes. One of you. I saw one hand go up and then it went down.
Going full circle.
Sorry, it's tough when they're in the back, sure.
Thank you. My name is Christine O'Donnell. I've been coming down here seasonally since I was born, so over 47 years. My family's been coming down here for over 60 years when my grandfather bought the first Millman cottage in our family. Now, 7 of my extended family are permanent residents, and the other several dozen are seasonal people like me, but we're still taxpayers. I was not aware of the sidewalk project until I came down here a couple weeks ago and read something about it. I went to the open space meeting, I guess last week, to learn more about it and to figure out what was fact, what was fiction, and I left there with even more questions. And I understand that this is already a done deal. And I talked to my family, the 7 who are down here permanently and the rest, none of them have heard about this. Now, at the Open Space Committee meeting, they said that they took the necessary requirements to educate everybody, but I understand that was in January and in March. I come down here in January, I come down here in March, but I don't read the little square inch, and I might not be here on the week that you notified everybody. So I found that a lot more questions were even raised than the questions that I had gone to the meeting to have answered. And I know that there's a lot of other people here, so I won't repeat every single question, but the most important to me that I heard a lawyer say was that if we level the dunes, and we will disqualify our residents and our townships from FEMA money because we've taken out the dunes that are necessary. Is that rumor or fact? I mean, I
Rumor.
don't know.
Rumor.
The other, well then,
flattening the
okay.
dunes, no.
The other one was that we would disqualify ourselves from federal insurance. And then I heard this gentleman here make a
That's
statement.
rumor also.
Okay, well, I heard then this gentleman make a statement that there was a study done that the dunes would probably replenish themselves. Well, my question is and then he continued to make a statement, but that word probably was kind of buried in there. If it's probably, well, why take such an irrevocable action and then find out that the dunes don't replenish ourselves?
That's not that area. He was talking about a different area. You have to
And-
understand there's two projects going. There's a project north. Yeah.
And the one
I'm
project
talking about
you're
the
talking
sidewalk
about,
project.
the engineer said the dunes are currently growing, and the project is on the street right away. It's not in the dunes.
Well, see, this is one of the fact versus fictions. I've heard that there's a 5-year plan introduced by Mont McDonald from Steve Morey, who's part of the Morey's Pier, that includes a family entertainment center.
That's
Now-
total. That's
Well,
the fiction
okay,
side.
but see,
Okay.
my point is, I have a very good friend who is for this, even the 5-year plan with a family entertainment center.
That's not happening.
No, but what I'm saying is there's a lot of rumors out there, and
Yes.
a lot of residents are upset. So what I propose is that at your next meeting, the July 17th meeting, either have an open forum to address all these things, invite the public, or have it on a weekend when those of us who are taxpayers, we pay the same amount of people as the people in taxes as those who are here full time. So we should have a say in this. We should have an opportunity to ask all these questions and figure out what is fact and fiction before, quite honestly, I feel like it's like, what the heck? You're supposed to break ground in September? Hold on. So let's have an open town hall forum where both sides can present their concerns. And if not, I propose that on July 17th, you table this until there's some sort of a document that addresses all of these concerns. Because, it's very unsettling to
Just to let you know, the amusement pier stuff, that was where you're saying you didn't hear anything, that was all dispelled about 3 years ago. That's
Okay,
the
well,
thing.
it's coming back up, and people are talking
Yeah, I know,
about
they
it,
just
and
keep
people
bringing
at
it
the
back.
ferry are telling other people that there's going to be a hotel here soon. We need documentation, and if that's the case, if you're going to go forward with $3 million and you're going to assure us right now that it's not going to lead to an amusement center, why don't you put that in there? Like, make that part of
DEP wouldn't
this-
allow amusement center in that
That-
area.
that whole
why don't you
section-
put it in there?
It's
Because
already
one
been
of the
done.
rumors I've heard,
It's already been done.
I didn't see that in the permit. I
Well,
didn't see anywhere that
that whole
restricts
section
anything.
is
Zone, it's all zone residential.
Exactly, and the permit
seemed.
seemed to be contradicting what the zoning laws say. I don't know enough about
That's
it. There's
correct.
not one place where someone can get all of the information on either side. This is, from what I understand, going to cost over $3 million. What is the annual budget for the township? Do you guys know?
Approximately
23.
$25 million.
So that's a huge percentage.
This is capital project. That's a little
It's a
bit
capital project.
How do you define a capital project?
Anything that has a long-term benefit of roughly 10, some are 5, most are 10 years or more.
Where do you bring that capital? Where does that capital come from if this has a long-term benefit?
It's type of a loan program, government bonds.
See, so that automatically, to me, triggers that a capital improvement project means it's going to bring in revenue somehow.
No. Streets are done that way.
Yeah.
That's how you pay for streets.
Okay, then let's make sure. Let's make sure that that's the case. Have all alternatives been explored? Why not expose the ground expose the curb that's there already, which will give it another about 1.5 feet. Put in a bike lane, because even now the current proposal doesn't have a bike lane. So it's not even going to fix the safety issue. It's just going to level the dunes, add a sidewalk.
There's nobody
and
level
still
the
have
dunes.
Yeah,
That's
that's,
first
see,
of all.
that's where we keep saying that. You just keep going on this. That's the problem. We can say the
in
fact,
their
but
own
no one's
picture,
doing
the
it.
dunes are flat. In their own picture that Mont McDonald presented at the open space meeting, the dunes are level to the sidewalk.
You see, that was a before and after picture.
No, their
Yes, it
picture.
was.
Their picture that has the bikes, the
Yes,
picture of the bikes
and the
in
picture
the middle.
before that, it's right where that dirt path was.
With
where the
2
sidewalk-
sidewalks on either side.
Correct.
On their own thing. They're saying this is what it's going
If you
to
saw
look
the
like.
before picture, you'll see
let
the
me-
dirt path.
Can I,
So-
can I answer? You got-
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. Well, let me answer at least a half a dozen questions, if you would. First off, I know you can go on our website and you can look at the minutes of every council meeting for the last 2 years, maybe longer. But I want you to go back to there and take the time and look at that, because the minutes aren't long. But when we say we haven't been compliant, we've paid for work sessions. We've had this discussion on numerous times, whether it be 4 or 5, but I'd like you to do that. But when it comes to destroying the dunes and these comments, we brought in not just Mont McDonald, we brought in a EDA, which is, I said, was recognized as stewards by the DEP. And he testified that not only aren't we going to do damage to the dunes, he felt there is going to be improvement there when it's done, okay? But Stu Farrell, who's the head of the Stockton research team, he also sent a letter in, which is in our package. Open Space did not read that, but we have Stu Farrell coming to the next meeting, obviously, when we don't know when that's going to be, to further ensure that. So those are people who are professionals, and that's what they do.
Okay, can I?
Now, let me keep going here, because you went in 6 areas. I want to cover the 6. You asked about capital improvement and the difference. In a municipality, money is set aside for capital projects. They were talked about roads earlier, and we only talked about the county. Well, we have $1 million right now and ready for capital improvements, of which 6 to 8 roads that we own, not the county roads, will be paid for as a capital expense. And capital does get less. It can be increased, but when you talk about the monies and the budgets, et cetera, and being a taxpayer, I want to make a couple things clear here. In the past 3 years, this community's rating financially has increased to the point of it's a solid investment, and when we do our tax sales, because of our surplus and our bond rating, it's like real quick, because we're at the top of the heap in the county. But you're constantly looking at an infrastructure project, whether it be storm drains or something like that. That's not your day-to-day operating, so it will never go away. We'll be doing capital stuff. We're in the middle of a feasibility study right now. We don't know if we're going to be able to do an aquatic center for the area, and we're doing the study, just like this study was done over a several months in time. And I respect the fact that you have concerns about the dunes and the area down there. I don't argue with that. With regards to that becoming a commercial area, it cannot. And when I hear stuff like that, like it's residential. So
Where would the aquatic center be?
we have 3 potential locations, but the first choice of the committee is the airport, for a couple of reasons, but that's our, and we hope to have the results of that by August, and at that point, there will be an open session for that in July, just like we did with this project, there will be one for the swimming pool project. And I don't, it may go, it may not go, but discussion will entail, just like, a lot of things were discussed, so.
Well, thank you for addressing that so thoroughly. I have a couple comments. First of all, you said I can get all the information by perusing 2 years' worth of town council minutes.
Well, it's
So,
on,
I mean, if everything you're saying is true and residents have absolutely no cause for alarm, table it, put it all in a report, address all of these things so that people can rest assured, because there's a lot of emotion.
well, we received a permit which expires at the end of 2018. And that permit came from the DEP and a CAFRA permit, which they're very, very, very difficult to obtain. I mean, but we have the permit. And saying that was a process to make sure that what we were doing was proper.
Well, have all the property owners who are going to lose their property to the sidewalks have been notified?
No,
I understand. No.
Any property.
I mean, so, excuse me?
No one's losing any property.
That's not true. There are people who own, and some of them are here in this audience. There are people who own property on the other side of Shore Drive and Beach Drive who are going to have part of their lots taken away, perhaps in eminent domain. So there are a lot of questions. My only thing is there are a lot of questions that have not been addressed. If this is the right thing and you've got a unified township behind you, you can get that permit again. But right now you don't. So there is absolutely no reason, especially when it's $3 million, a huge...
We do have a unified council. The vote on this project was 5-0.
And I'm also told that there are people on this council who promised they wouldn't vote for it, and then they did.
You're speaking,
My
excuse me, ma'am. Excuse me, ma'am.
My proposal is to have a town council. Have a meeting, have a town hall meeting.
We've
where
done that
can
several
address
times
all these-
already.
Ma'am.
No, you haven't. Have it in July
All right, listen,
on
we
the
need to move
weekend
on.
when
I know other
taxpayers
people have
can be
concerns,
here.
so we're going to let some other people come up too.
Can
You
you
wanna
address it
you
again
wanna-
on July 17th?
Yeah, I wanted to address one of your comments. You're referring to me. In 2014.
I didn't know I was referring to you. It's
Excuse
one
me,
of the
ma'am.
things I was told.
Excuse me. Little respect goes both ways here. Getting back to the comment that you made about there was somebody up here that was against it and then now for it. That person is me, and I explained myself back on April 3rd when we had the meeting. And the reason for that is the petition that was going around in 2014, and your attorney friend that is connected with your group, she personally told me to my face that part of the project was the amusement pier, that restaurants were going to go up there, and it was going to be a big commercial thing going on up there. I lived here my whole life. I don't want to see that. Never did want to see that. That's what I was supposed to. And at the time, people they weren't explained by the engineering firm or any photographs or any plans shown that what was going to happen up there. So I was against it because of those two reasons. However, I went to a meeting of the Rec Advisory Board to find out what was going on with the project. We're also looking at beach access paths. And I went to that meeting, and there was people from your group that were there.
Don't say my group. I'm a taxpayer who went to a meeting
group-
for the first time last week, and I started talking to other citizens who had done their research.
Fair enough. A group of people from the North Cape May area that were opposed to it. They were at the meeting also. I requested to bring those plans out to see exactly what was going to go on with that project. And the plans were brought out. And the people that were opposed to it got up and walked out of the room and didn't even look at them. I stayed there for another hour and a half looking through the plans and doing research to find out what was going to go on with the project. There was never any commercial projects going to go on up there. There was never any amusement piers that were going to go on. There was an administration beforehand that was talking about a fishing pier, and that never materialized either. But with the project with the sidewalk, there was never any restaurants or amusement piers or any other commercial establishment going to be up there. It had to do with the safety of the roadway, to increase the safety of the roadway for the cars and the bicycles, and to put a sidewalk up there to get the pedestrians off the street. That's what the original project was. That's what the original project right now is. There's a CAFRA permit that we received approvals. DEP does not issue permits to ruin sand dunes. They are out there to protect the sand dunes. They are not there to destroy them. They're there to protect them. And we want to also enhance the sand dunes, as we have another engineering firm doing a study on the bayfront. The people in the villas, their houses are in the V zone. And parts of Ward 2 also. We're looking to be able to correct that. We're working with FEMA to try to get things like that done. To say that we're wrecking things that people won't get in flood insurance and we're not going to get FEMA grants, that's all rumors made up by I don't know who. That's not true at all, and it never has been true.
Well, that's why I'm proposing that we have
Now,
a town hall meeting to address
As far as I'm
this,
concerned, we
because there are-
voted 5-0 to proceed with
But
the
that's
project.
not-
Town hall meeting.
In my opinion, if there really is nothing, if these are rumors, again, I'm not
They are
making
rumors.
accusations, if they're rumors, for the sake of the thousands of us who come down here seasonally but still pay taxes, have a town hall meeting,
Well,
assuage our concerns, put these things in there, because if Mont McDonald is the one who commissioned the study, that's like Taco Bell or McDonald's commissioning a study on whether or not fast food is good for you. So there are a lot of things that are concerning.
All right, we have to move on.
For the record, what is your address?
111 Ohio Avenue.
Ohio Avenue in the
Right down the street from here in walking distance. We've been coming here for over 60 years.
Yeah.
At least a dozen of my other family members are property owners here. None of them have heard about this. None of
It's
them.
very well publicized.
And that's very well publicized in the middle of winter when people are not here. People who are going to be affected by this.
Thank you.
So again, I'm just asking.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, all the way in the
Town hall
back.
forum where we can all
Come on up.
have our answers.
I'll get to everybody. We'll get to everybody. Thank you. Let's try to be brief so everybody gets a chance, that's all.
How you doing, guys? My name's Nick Rambo. I live at Wilson Ave in North Cape May.
Can you speak into the mic, Nick?
Can you hear me? Hi, I'm Nick. I'm 26 years old. I lived here my whole life. I've been a volunteer fireman for about 16 years here between two different fire companies. I like to ride my bike, seriously, every single day since I've been 14, down in that bayfront. You know how many times I've almost got hit on my bicycle?
Nick, could you speak into the mic, please?
Yeah, you have to address council, sorry.
Okay,
not
I'm
them.
sorry. I think it's a great idea. I don't think we should wait any longer. Ever since I was a little kid, I've been down on that bayfront. I've almost got killed more times than I can even count, probably, because these guys, nobody pays attention to speed limits, just like the lady talking about racetrack. They fly down the road. You could put cops there, they're still going to go fast. 10, 15 mile an hour, 5 mile an hour. Somebody gets hit, a little kid, they're gonna die. I'd rather you see the township spend about $5 million than see a little kid get killed. That's all I'm going to say. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you. Yes, hand up right here in the middle. Yes. That's you. Sorry.
Thank you. My name's Anne Marie Wax, and I live on Folsom. Number one, the video on your website is so poorly filmed, and the audio is so poor that there are two people are speaking over each other. So I don't know who has a responsibility to put that information out there so it can be understood, but it's not being done so now. I was on the website today, couldn't understand a word couldn't understand the questions that were being posed. So if you're spending money on that, it's a waste of money. So unless someone's doing it as a volunteer job, you might want to spend a couple dollars to have it done correctly, so the information can get out to the people. Is there a bike path proposed or not on this sidewalk issue?
No,
There's a bike lane that's going to be in the road.
it's a share the bike road.
It's a share the road with bikes. So there is no designated bike lane.
No, that was,
There's no lines
times.
drawn? Pardon me?
no, it's been explained several times, they're following state.
Please, excuse me,
If you're going to interrupt, I can't answer you.
you'll have to explain it again for my sake. Thank you.
It's a share the road method approved by New Jersey DOT that they're using. It's been explained at the when you were at the various meetings. Every time it's been said, here's the way they're doing it. The signage and that type
Okay,
of thing.
so explain it again. There's a share of the road. So what does that mean? Is there a line drawn on the road?
No.
Okay, so then this gentleman riding a bike can still get hit because there's no designated area. So what is the safety for a bicyclist?
Okay, I
how
gave
that
my
works.
opinion. You asked a question, I gave that. Now you're asking for opinion, which no matter what, you're going to argue with. So I'm happy.
All right, no, I just want to
Okay.
be sure there's no designated bike lane. So if you're riding a bike, you can still get hit by a car because there's no lane.
Well,
for you.
that can happen in a bike lane too. But,
Or in your
Of
driveway.
course it can, but at
Right.
least a car.
But you don't have to, the difference is when riding a bike, and I know because I ride there every day, you don't have to dodge people with baby carriages or walking their dogs or joggers or anybody else because they will have a safe, so there will be more room on the roadway.
There'll be additional room, but not designated room.
Now, the walkway, which will be elevated, will take a lot of those folks that are on the road now onto that walkway.
And the bicycles?
No.
No bikes should be on.
Okay, so there's no designated bike lane?
No.
Okay. So you have a sidewalk, you have a road, the cyclists still ride on the side of the road, and there's no indicator to the motorist that this is
You
designated.
No, there's
actually-
Yes, there is.
You actually will have sidewalks on both sides, and they will be ADA compliant, so someone in a wheelchair.
I'm
or-
talking about bicyclists right now.
Well, you're talking
Cyclists,
about
I'm addressing
bicycles.
this gentleman's concern about not getting hit by a car. There's no change in the road. It's still going to be a risk riding your bike.
However you
I
want to put
actually
it.
think the road's going to be wider, personally.
And safer.
Okay.
That's
So obviously, there's been a lot of distrust in your gentleman in this leadership panel. Otherwise, you wouldn't have people coming out here.
same people.
Pardon me?
Same people with the same stories that keep changing. Yes.
Well, you're the same council.
Well, I don't know. I
Yep,
mean,
and I've had the same story.
No, the council that was there before in
And I was here.
2014,
they also voted for this project.
they did
5-0.
not. They
Yes.
tabled it.
No, they
No,
voted
not.
5-0.
They
like
tabled the
ago.
project. They said you will never hear about this project again.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't want
Wrong.
to.
And when I addressed you
Respectfully.
about that, you said, well, that was then, this is now. That was then, this is now.
They voted to go ahead with the project, and then.
No, they
changed their
did
mind.
not.
The vote was, yes, they did, I can tell you for a fact.
Right, the
but
CAFR
I'm not gonna
permit,
argue with you.
it runs out in 2018?
Yes.
Okay. So because something is going to be, has a definite shelf life, then you're going to risk more distrust in the residents here. You're going to ignore what people are saying to you just for the sake of not having to actually apply for another permit.
No, I'm going to do it for the fact that last night at a 4th of July thing, some guy said, what are you waiting for, someone to die before you do something about Beach Avenue? That's why I'm doing it. And that's pretty much the end of my story.
Well, when FEMA, the Department of Transportation, the DEP, and everybody else are on board, then I think it's a great project, it's a great idea. But
And the fact that
We as
the D,
citizens, how can we as citizens and people that pay taxes and people that live here all year long and depend on those dunes for the safety of our homes, how can we know exactly what lies ahead? Because nothing has come forth to really lay this out to us. And you say, okay, we're going to put a sidewalk in. Okay, it's not going to disturb anything. Okay, this, okay, that. But there's nothing written that says that all of this has been proven to be true. Probably won't hurt.
You've only been told about, what, 10 times, different meetings and stuff, and you saw the project. Man, we've given you all the answers. You've
You
been at
have given
every
us
meeting.
some vague answers. You
seen
have
the
not given us
pictures.
I
definite
think it's
answers.
very well written.
Okay, where do we
So
get
if
a
you
copy
wanna
of that?
come in sometime and make an appointment and sit down, I'll be glad to let you look at what you're talking about, a picture, but a lot of studies have been done here, and we just mentioned the DOT, and it's just amazing to me that the DOT examined that project and sends us a check for $176,000 for the project in the past 2 weeks. So someone in Trenton heard about the project, and it's pretty hard to get these things but they examined it. That's another group. That's not FEMA. That's not CAPRA.
Department of
That was the
Transportation
yeah.
for the road?
So,
Okay, because the road is atrocious.
Yes, and we're going, that's what, but
Okay,
ma'am,
that
okay,
doesn't mean-
ma'am, this whole project's been sitting in her office since 2013. No one has come in to see it. It's
No
been
one knew
announced,
about it.
advertised.
It's been hours.
If you advertise in the Star and the Banner or whatever it is, then it's this
It's been
big.
announced at meetings it was here.
Why don't you put an announcement in your tax bills that goes out? Why don't you put an announcement in your water, in your sewer bill that goes out?
We don't have a water or sewer bill.
We'll take that into consideration.
Thank you.
I have to get on to the next. This gentleman's had his, in the blue shirts, had his hand up for some time. In the Philly shirt, no less. Here, come on up, take in the mic. And just state your name and your address,
Andrew
please.
Wozniak, 901 Clubhouse.
Gotcha.
All right. How far is that sidewalk going to go to? Now, I hear rumors it's only going to go to Englewood. Is it going down to Fernwood?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure. So the property owners are going to allow that?
It's in the street right away.
But how about the access walks? They never put one in the
Property owners all own that we can't do
you
anything
can't
about
put
that.
them access ramps there?
The property owners would have to, it's private property.
Well, that's a safety issue right there. If you would have them
That'd be
there.
like, yeah, but the property owners, I think, are looking to do it.
They are
It's
looking
private
to do it.
property.
Privately owned.
That'd be like us saying we're going to go and put
Well,
a.
matter of fact, I like them. I think it's a good idea.
We're,
You know what
we're
I mean?
trying to do them everywhere we can, but it's problem is private
Okay,
property.
I understand that, but I just want to clarify that you're going down to Fernwood on the west side.
Yes.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I see the gentleman right here in the middle. Mr. Rizzo, I was talking to another gentleman, but if you're brief, that's,
This will be very brief. What I'd like to say to you is, we know we've had these discussions and had these discussions. I want to go back to something about the rentals. When the people come to get their rental thing, whatever they get, post on their door, put the dog signs, put whatever they need to know. When I rented my house in West Cape May, I did it on my own. I posted on the door. These are the rules and regulations of West Cape May, Borough of West Cape May. When these people rent their properties, that's all you need to do. You give them a
Well,
piece
they
of
need to do
paper
that, not
when
us.
they
They
apply
need to
for the
do that.
rentals, and they post it on their door.
you're right.
That
they
would
should do
solve
that.
a lot of the problems, I'm telling you. It would have these dogs and so on and so forth. Of course, people who come to rent, they don't give a damn. I'm being quite frank about it. They're there to rent and have a good time. They don't care about the dog licenses or what they have to do. Have it posted on their rental property. Property owners, the people who own the property, have to pay taxes. When they pay their spring tax bill, give them a thing to post if they're going to rent. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Yes, sir.
Hi, Kevin Breeze, 413 Windward, beautiful downtown Villas.
Gotcha.
Couple things that came up in tonight's meeting with respect to, I can't read the name from here.
Conrad.
I need the computer glasses for
It's okay.
this one. Mr. Conrad and the previous speaker about safety issues when they're riding bikes on Shore Drive. Okay, I accept that there may be potential dangers there. Typically, when you're talking about safety, you have numbers to back that up. There have been accidents, there have been recorded accidents, police reports, all that sort of thing.
Yes.
When we had, and I was one of the folks at the earlier meetings, and the same question arose, and there were never any statistics to back up that safety concern. They said, oh, well, we got to wait for someone to die, or oh, well, I was almost killed, whatever it was, on the bicycle, or
2015, there was a
in
child
different
hit by a
situation,
car.
Somebody stops, backs up, and tries to get her, but that's another story. But the point is, no statistics to back that up. Other streets in the area, as we know, there have been some accidents. No streetlights, no sidewalks, no nothing since then. So I just think for the sake of good housekeeping, that particular point needs to be addressed.
2015, there's a child hit, and the other problem is reporting methods of trying to narrow something like that down. It's a hand search through thousands of reports to get that because no one was looking for it at the time, but it's happened.
Sure, no argument, but the
Okay.
point is, you're talking about a general issue and then trying to say, well, there was an accident.
Okay.
Okay, fine. I'm just saying,
All right.
that's the situation. The other one, when you were talking about the dunes, dealing only with the right-of-way for the road, Mott Davidson, when they were sitting here, was talking about, we're going to move it 65 feet out towards the water.
That's what DEP said they would have to shift the
That's what
dunes.
Mott Davidson said when we were talking about.
I don't
where's
know
the
who
new
Mott
one.
Davidson
Oh,
is,
we're
but-
going to take the sand and move it 65 feet towards the water. Point is, lots of miscommunication, lots of confused information at the very least. I think it would be a good I think it would be a good idea. An information the previous speaker wanted to have a town hall. I think it would be good to have an interim report from the Mott Davidson crew, from the results of this open meeting, the open sources meeting. The other part that concerns me here is it went from $175,000 for the study, the initial study, then it's an order of magnitude larger for the grants to move to the next phase. Do we have any idea what the final numbers are going to be and from where that money is going to come?
Yeah.
So you see a number of points here, but I just think an informational meeting would be a real good idea to sort of
Okay.
put that all down, or at least resolve it in some fashion, or at least speak to it, and at the risk of being redundant, have that discussion again, because lots of folks still don't know.
Thank you. Yes, gentleman in the green shirt. It's green, right? Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. It's a brownish green. Sorry, I'm trying to get to your other.
Hi, I'm Tony Ryan, 1502 Rose Hill Parkway, North Cape May. Full-time resident, 3 years. Owner, 7 years. Taxpayer, and I'm only here as a taxpayer. I see the original budget for this back in 14-15 was around 900,000. We're at 3,272,000 now. 3,272,000 now. Does those numbers that I'm seeing include new water lines, storage lines, drainage lines? Is that part
Drainage,
of
yes.
this
Water
budget?
lines, that's MUA issue.
Drainage, yes.
So that's in the MUA budget.
As
For water. How much? We pay that tax too, right?
if you pay water bill, that they're trying to keep ours. Our whole thing is not to raise any taxes on this project, which right now is no taxes.
You're asking
are
about
going to be raised.
Roseanne? You said
No,
you
no,
lived on Rose
no,
Hill.
I live on Rose
You're
Rose
talking
Hill.
about Rose Hill?
No,
Rose
I'm
Hill.
talking about the Beach
Yeah,
Drive
the
project.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to know what the MUA impact was going to be for drainage,
They don't do,
water. Who does drainage?
we do.
Is the drainage is in this 3 million?
Yeah, I was explaining that,
Yes.
Okay.
the whole thing, that
Well, that's
they're
what-
putting
that's
all
the
new
only question
storm
I
drains
had.
in, fixing the repair, tying into the outfall pipes. That's to help to save the dunes and alleviate any other issues up on Beach Drive with the rain.
Will this work be publicly bid?
Yes.
Okay, that's a good thing. All right, that's all I got.
It's all the way in the back, the hand way up. I think you're the only,
well,
there's two. Why don't you guys both come up and just get in line so we can,
I know she's been.
that way I don't have to keep, yeah, just come on up and if you want to wait. Okay, all right.
Thank you very much. My name is Mike Bondiski, 607 Pilgrim Plaza in North Cape May. And I want to try to, hopefully dial it down a little bit. I think that it's fair to say this has been a contentious project, right? I have a couple of questions, but I want to preface my questions. And I think that, by anyone's measure, whether you're for this or against it, it's an extraordinary measure to touch the dunes. I think everybody would agree that that is an extraordinary measure, and extraordinary measures should require extraordinary justification and extraordinary public support. I think somebody said that, well, this is not really going to touch the dunes. But I'm not an engineer, but there's a certain amount of frontage from the properties on the east side of Bay Drive to the coast of the Delaware Bay. The street currently is 31 feet. I did look at the plans, and the street will become 32 feet plus 6 feet. That additional 6 feet is coming from the dunes. There's no place else for it to come to unless you're going to somehow magically move the shoreline of the Delaware Bay out 6 feet. So it is coming at the expense of the dunes, and I think that may be okay. You know, I think that reasonable people can look at this and have differing points of view. But I think that, you know, it seems to me that the project changed. It was a pedestrian beach access project in 2014 to a pedestrian safety issue in 2017. And I think that assuming arguendo that it does need to be, safety does need to be improved, when you ask what is the evidence of this, the last gentleman was talking about, at least in 2014, the representative of Lower Township Police clearly indicated in response to a direct question, there were no instances at that point in time. I agree, Mr. Conrad, that there was an incident in 2015 involving a youth cyclist. But interestingly, well, that's what Councilman Perry cited.
It was a child pedestrian.
On a cycle.
No.
Well, that's
Walking.
There was an adult on a cycle that was in the Town Bank area, but we're referring to a child.
Okay, so, but my point is, under the most extreme case, we're talking about n equals 1, right? That's what we're talking about, n equals 1. So really, this is a prophylactic project, a prophylactic measure to prevent what you deem to be an unsafe condition on Beach Drive. And I guess one of my questions is, why is this the only alternative on the table? I mean, clearly there are other ways to ameliorate this unsafe condition, things ranging from speed bumps to stop signs to
Taking parking away.
Well, can I just,
Yeah, I'm just throwing that out there.
reducing the speed limit, any one or more of those. Why are they not being looked at and presented to the township residents as alternatives with a cost-benefit analysis? You mentioned that this is, you know, being paid for with capital. I'm not an engineer, but I am a finance guy. I'm a CPA. Capital or not, the taxpayers are going to pay for that capital. That bond is going to come due. And the township doesn't have a printing press for money in the back. The taxpayers of township will have to service that debt, and it will have to pay that debt. So I guess I don't understand what's wrong with looking at other alternatives to ameliorate what you believe to be an unsafe condition. Clearly, there's not a plethora of accidents happening right now. So that was my one question. The other question is...
That is one, if some things were presented to the council, and they looked at it at different times, reviewing it, that's it. But your analysis about finances is now a known liability about this issue. It's been publicized. There's a problem there. Safety. It's been publicized for quite a few years. Numerous police chiefs have come forward and said, this is a safety issue. Publicly, they have come forward and said that. If it's a liability and you don't do anything about it, it becomes possibly negligence, correct?
Well, that's a legal question, not
Okay,
a finance question.
Financially,
okay. There's no liability on the financial statements of Lower Township today.
What happens to the taxpayer if the insurance company says you had negligence, that's on you, you're paying for it, and it's a $10 million settlement? What happens to the taxpayer then?
Well, you know, look, obviously our taxes go up, but
drastically.
But what I would say to
that's
you
what
is
I'm trying to say.
That risk exists all across Lower Township. You can't ameliorate every risk of any traffic accident anywhere in Lower
I'm not saying
Township.
a traffic
My point is, Beach Drive is a 1.4 mile stretch of land that people believe that, without statistics to back it up, people believe it's an unsafe condition for pedestrians. And in the absence of demonstrated accidents, what is so objectionable about pausing and putting in some other remedial steps to dial down the safety concerns while people get a better handle on what this project really entails? I would say, with all due respect to Councilman Perry, I agree that, as I understand it, the project does not call for commercialization of Beach Drive. I agree with that. But I think what you need to understand is people oppose this on other grounds as well. In other words, there's an aesthetic aspect of this. There's a protection from storms aspect to this. It's not solely based on fear of future commercialization. And I think, what I've witnessed tonight there's almost an adversarial relationship that's developed between certain of your constituents and this body. I mean, you refer to it as your group, and you know, and it's and I think you need, as elected representatives, to work to dial this down and forge an alignment among the people that you are elected to represent. And I think
That sounds good. I've been to houses.
I have been,
talk.
this project has been up and been very vocal since about April 3rd, I believe, of this year, when we had the presentation done by the engineering firm. I have been in contact with people that are opposing it, and I get it. I've lived here my whole life. I know what the aesthetics are up there.
I wasn't at the April 3rd, but I did watch it online, and I appreciate the fact that council does make those available. But what I would say is, if council was really interested in representing the consensus views of its constituents, then why doesn't council seek the input of its constituents and instead only solicit letters of support? In the May 1st press release that Township put out, it specifically sought letters of support for the project. It's on your website. You can look at it.
Okay.
It's your May 1st, 2017 press release.
I was under the impression that it was support and or against.
No.
Okay.
It specifically asks only for letters of support. And that breeds mistrust on the part of your constituents, because it doesn't come across as though you really want to represent the views of the people that elected you. It comes across as though you have some hidden agenda and you're trying to push this through and inflate and orchestrate an effort to inflate the level of support over that which really exists. So, I mean,
that's your opinion.
Well, the press release says what it says. Okay, Councilman Perry. I'm not making it up. I mean, if she's online, she can show it to you right now. The press release says what it says. It's not an opinion, it's fact. The press release asks for letters of support. I mean,
That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
Is
So
it
it's
true?
not opinion. It's not opinion.
No. I asked for letters of support, so I know it does say that. I also know when you talk about groups, 18 months ago, there were 60, 70 signatures. They had a rec advisory board. We do have a recreation advisory board in this township. I started in recreation, going to those meetings and listening to these folks. And they were behind this for 4 years. When the meeting happened that he talked about, they brought representation in. That was before even a few of these people. But to say that both sides weren't presented.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I did not say that.
As far as the emails are concerned, we were asked not to bombard the special open space. Bring them all the day of the event. And I didn't want to read all of them, but we put our files together and we went up there and went through that. I understand where you're coming from. I understand capital too.
I'm sure you do.
But I want to, you said dial it down. I want to dial it down too, if you'd let me. I want to go to last Tuesday morning at 10:15. I took the chief and the captain with me, and we went racetrack, and we make a turn there, and he says to me, "Look at this." I said, "Yeah, I know. That's for sure going to help with the sidewalk," because at that point, before 11 in the morning, between Harpoons and Town Bank, there were 30 people on the road. Not bikers, just baby carriages, people walking. And my whole thing, again, this is my opinion, nobody has to agree with it, but right now, on that Delaware Bay this weekend, we had 10 times more people than we had 10 years ago. So there's loads of people going to the beach there. The beach is a different thing that we have to deal with. But when they come off of that beach, the thing that bothered me and the support from myself was the fact that I just hated the fact that someone could walk right out of that dune and they're in that street. I view this as a buffer along with for walkers, carriages, handicap, etc. I get what you're saying, and I can make pros and cons to any project we're going to do, but I respect that. we're not solving all the problems here.
But Mr. Ridgway, I take you at your word, everything you said, and I think it's fair to say one thing that everybody agrees on. No one wants to see an injury to somebody on Beach Drive.
Right. I agree with
Whether
that.
you're for or against this,
Right.
no one wants to see that happen. I mean, we're all have that same vision. We all love the beach. We all love the aesthetics of the dunes. We want it preserved, I guess. But what strikes at least me as unusual is I was at the meeting in 2014. I watched the publicized, township meetings, and I have yet to see council present to its citizens the cost benefit of alternatives. There's more ways to skin a cat than just one way. And I think by anyone's stretch of imagination, they would say, messing around with the dunes is an extraordinary step for a prophylactic measure. And as I said before, extraordinary measures should require extraordinary levels of support and public support. And clearly, council has to know that doesn't exist.
Well,
Evidence the fact
I agree with you, and it was extraordinary what we listened to about the beach accesses and how we were going to destroy this, destroy that. And I met with those people from DEP, and I read those documents. And when they said you could do 4 feet, even though we had to bring in extra equipment because we didn't have the machinery to shrink a path, which seemed nonsensical, we did it to the letter of the law. When they were done, they lauded us for that project of so-called moving. There were a lot of naysayers against that. Right now, sir, I think that project looks fantastic. And I see homeowners, they like it, and there wasn't the destruction. I feel the same way about the coastal resiliency grant going up all the way to the villas. I also feel strongly about these flood maps. We've won the first battle against FEMA, which the maps... People in North Cape May were spared, but when you got up around Coxhole Creek and north of there, they weren't. And we're fighting vigorously to address that. And if we get a berm out of that on the Army Corps' dollar, that would help. But all these things come into consideration.
Yeah.
I just would ask you, you said you read this, and you said you saw our video because people complained they couldn't see the video. So you did say you got some information, but how did you read this package? Did you come in?
No, I didn't come in, and I will say one thing without
I
dialing
thank
it up.
you for reading it.
Yeah, but
how?
without dialing it up, I don't feel, and I think I respectfully disagree with Councilman Conrad on this. I don't feel that it's the responsibility of the taxpayers to go out of their way to make their way to the clerk's office to study engineering programs for a project they don't support.
It's not also
I think the burden. My own opinion, just my opinion. My own opinion is the burden is on you, Mayor, and you, council members, to lay out a plan like this to your constituents and explain to your constituents in the light of day without the charade of press releases seeking only letters of support. Lay out all the alternatives and why you feel this is the best alternative. And no one wants to see injuries on Beach Drive. It's not like the people that are opposed to this are advocating. We're not short hospital stocks. I mean, we're not hoping for a bunch of pedestrian, being mowed down by motorists. But I think, council needs to look in the mirror about how it has managed this project all the way back,
Were you
even
at the
before
meeting?
you were on the council, Councilman Perry. This has not been managed, I think, in an appropriate manner. And I think council's responsibility is to try to forge a consensus among its constituents and the people that represent you. You may be right, I may be wrong, but it appears council doesn't want to know what the majority of the constituents really feel. That's what it's coming across as. So anyway, I want to thank you again for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yes, Miss, all the way in the back.
The orange, yes. Where's the pink?
Hi, my name is Linda McCartney. My place of residence is 903 Clubhouse Drive. I'd like to thank everyone here for their time tonight. There were so many comments that came up, and I have more questions. Mr. Ridgway, the first question I have for you, you had mentioned early on tonight Fulling Mill Road and other projects that are state roadways. As a state roadway, the township is not responsible for maintaining them, is that correct?
That was they're county roads.
County roads,
Yeah.
rather, not state roads, county roads. So the county is responsible for
Correct.
maintaining them, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we are not. So you mentioned when we started talking about this beach safety project, so-called, the Department of Transportation in Trenton approved this $176,000, and your exact words were, somehow they heard about it up there. You actually petitioned them for that money to repair that road.
I don't think
They
it
didn't
said
just
that.
happen to hear about it, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for
We
correcting
applied
that.
for a grant.
Right, okay, so they didn't just happen to hear about it, your words. We approached them and said we'd like this.
Well, it's
That
because
wasn't
the,
words.
Thank you.
because the American with Disabilities Act was involved, so that's, obviously
Right, I
Trenton got
understand that.
involved.
And my next question is about the CAFRA permit. That has a lifespan on it. What is the lifespan of a CAFRA permit?
January
Somebody
2000.
December 31st, 2018, or January 1st.
Well, what, generally speaking, when you get a CAFRA
January
permit, do
of
you know what the
January
lifespan
of
is for that
18.
permit? Or you just know the expiration date?
I
for
just
this?
know the expiration.
Okay, thank you. So that's something we need to look into. The CAFRA permit, they were changed in January of 2016. And specifically, unless you're building within 150 feet of the mean water line, they've been relaxed. And that is, they've been tightened for residential properties. So this project that you got the approval on wasn't because they necessarily looked at it and said, this is a grand project and we like it. It just so happens it was not a residential property, which is why you got the permit for it.
I have to disagree because they actually gave recommendations to the plans on how to work with the dunes and stuff like that. the
Okay,
deep
so
end.
for my edification, because I'm just coming into all this, what is the mean water line along Bay Drive and Beach Drive up there? Do you know?
It varies along the beach.
And can you give me a range?
No.
Okay, thank you. So that's another question I had. And moving on, specifically in front of Harpoons on the Bay, that roadway is wider than the road north and south of it. It has a curb on both sides. No other property along that stretch of the waterway has a curb on the east and west side of the road. Does anybody even know about that? Can
It's
you
my,
tell me
it's,
why they have a curb on the east and west side in front
it's
of?
my
Harpoons?
understanding that it was maintained by the people who had owned it throughout the years,
So
from
Harpoon or the Rendezvous or Whalers Cove maintained that?
whomever.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they took like an additional amount of footage there, and I believe it's about 6, maybe 8 feet over into the dunes.
That'd be corrected.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did they need a permit to do that?
That curve's been there as long as I've been here.
I know, but that, I appreciate
I
that.
don't
Back then,
know.
there was no CAFRA permits. CAFRA didn't come into the late 80s, the early 90s.
It actually came in the 1990s for the CAFRA
Okay.
permits. So the question I have are the road dimensions now. I heard some, 2 conflicting here. What are they currently now along that stretch that's unsafe?
It varies. That's the problem.
Okay, so let's take it at, say, Emerson Avenue or up there, or,
It might be 30, 31 feet,
and how much wider are you going to make the roadway?
32 in certain areas.
Okay, so you're proposing to add an additional 1 foot to the roadway. You're going to put a silhouette of a bicycle on the roadway, and you're going to put a sidewalk. That extra 1 foot and those pictures painted on the roadway are going to make it safer for me when I ride my bicycle up there, correct?
We're supposed to, according to state guidelines, yes.
Okay, according to state guidelines.
It's worked in other
Sidewalk.
areas.
And the other thing I want clarification on, these photographs come from your website, from the Lower Township website. They show the sidewalk here, they show the dunes, and you can clearly see over them. There's no obstruction. If this sidewalk is in fact going to be on road bed level, on the grade level there, then the portion of the dunes is being topped off because you would not be able to see over them unless you took them down. So my question with this is,
Huh? That made no sense, I'm sorry.
okay, well, if you look at the dunes, they've been locked, they've been topped off. It's like when the utility.
Is that the before and after picture with it?
No.
It's the
other
same
one-
picture?
The other picture up here is of the access roads, ramps that were put in.
Okay.
So anyway, this photograph here shows that it does appear in there that they've been lopped off. My question is, it also shows the sidewalks on the east and the west side of that roadway being repaired. They look like they're both being replaced. Are they both going to be replaced?
The
On the east and west side?
east side is going to be repaired.
Okay, is the township paying for the east side?
Yes.
Who is responsible for maintaining those sidewalks now?
Good question.
Is it not the responsibility of the property owners?
It may be for that. That's
Okay, so
that's a legal question.
So if it is the responsibility of the property owners, it's inherent on this group sitting here right now to get infuriated here, Walt, code enforcement, and have that code enforce whatever it may be for that sidewalk, and that's the responsibility of those property owners to bear that expense. I propose that that should be looked at first, that sidewalk should be addressed with the current code that's in place before we build another sidewalk on the other side of the road under the guise that it's going to make the roadway safer.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? We still have some people. Any more hands up in the back? One more? Come on up.
Oh, the lady in the center or the one in the black sweater?
Good. We'll do the black sweater first.
If this project is really a done deal, which it seems already.
Yeah, could you please
why
state your
are
name and
you-
address, please?
Margaret Metz, 905 Clubhouse.
Thank you.
Why are you stopping at Fernwood and not going to Pinewood with the sidewalk?
There was something that I think the engineers and the DEP looked at and said, stop here, from what I understand.
Why?
Why?
Is it
Ask the
working?
DEP.
I don't think it was our choice.
It wasn't our choice.
That was.
You're going to cut off one block of Beach Road?
I could just tell you, they said there was an issue there, and the DEP and them agreed not to have it there.
You don't know what the issue was, though. You just said okay when they said that.
Yeah, if the DEP says don't do something, you don't do it.
But you could have asked why.
When our engineer was here, somebody asked that question.
Highly
and
consistent.
He gave the response. I don't recall what it was, but Mr. Schrey had the response to that
I
question.
would really like to know why. And the other part of my question is, why did they stop improving the walkways to the beach where they did and not continue on to Pinewood?
Okay, again, private property. The property owners own that area, private property. The other area from Town Bank South, the township owns.
So you couldn't have asked the homeowners if they wanted a new walkway?
We
Those
just-
walkways are nice.
Yes, and we did them all throughout the township on township-owned
We've
property.
had discussions with the organization. I see that happening in the future, but in the initial phase, it wasn't because we didn't own it. So we did what we could do, but we've been approached and we've been talking to them. But I will tell you, one of the issues had to do with the road dipped so bad there. They really wanted to make sure that the road was proper before it would have really created some severe problems, whether it be flooding, et cetera. But that's what they seem to be behind. Get the road right, then we can look
So
for.
you're saying
We're
it-
doing, to answer your question, we're going for another permit. Once all the dune, we still have some grasses and dune stuff that have to be planted to complete that. And then we have to apply for another permit for additional streets. But we've had requests now from about 7 different areas that weren't included. But for the most part, it was because we didn't own that and we couldn't write it into the village. But we're looking at doing more because the response has been overwhelmingly positive.
Okay, thank you.
Sally.
Who would you say, Tom? You've been waiting for a while?
Black sweater.
Black sweater, middle, this side.
Come on up. Yeah, somebody.
Sally York at 229 Roseanne Avenue.
Gentlemen, changing gears here a little bit. First of all, thank you. Roseanne Project has been moving along very well. The gentlemen that work there, Perna Finnegan, our MUA, our Public Works Department, they are gentlemen. They have been a pleasure to see every morning. They clean up very well. I mean, our street is a war zone, don't get me wrong, and I know we have a long way to go. But the residents, we can already see a difference. Don't stop. But when we did have rain in June and it poured, we didn't have a public pool in my backyard. It didn't sink. We didn't have water to slosh through. So what is already starting to happen is working out. And even whenever we can't get up and down the streets, they're so polite about it. Our Public Works Department came back without asking the next day to pick up our recyclables. I mean, everyone's working together, so thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Second, I am a believer that you do listen. Our Bayshore Road, the speed limit is reduced, and I never thought I would see that before the end of summer. I was a doubter. I really was. And it was very nice the first night that I rode down and saw 45, 40, 35. And this weekend, pulling on Roseanne Avenue at 35 miles an hour on a holiday weekend, it was remarkable that we could get out. When you go to revisit and they're going to repave Bayshore Road, I think maybe I would have it 40 miles an hour at the Rite Aid down. Just maybe tweak it. But besides that,
Baby steps.
yeah, baby steps. I know baby steps, but I thought I might put that in your ear so when you think about it. But otherwise, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and so do the people in our area. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good. Yes, please, you were up already. Can you make it brief? Come on, you can come up.
Anne Marie Waxman on Folsom Road. Just number one, that I agree that it looks nice, the access, and I don't know what name you're calling it, to the beach.
Beach accesses.
However, we haven't encountered a storm. So we don't know what will happen because you went right through the dune with the access. So you created an alleyway where the water can come up and go directly onto the street. So having people say this is wonderful, that's great, it looks great, but how effective will it be and how detrimental will it be in keeping out the stormwater? So to say that you'll continue to go up in the same fashion, it might be just a little premature to do that before we've even encountered a storm to see what's going to happen with that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And I would just also add to that in doing the last 4 or 5 years of beach cleanups, it amazed me the number of people that just trounce through those dunes. Now they go down the beach accesses. That was important to us too, that people aren't playing in the dunes. There's an area to get down to your beach. And I think that's another good thing, not
It's
just
good.
first.
It's good. It's just who knows what will happen when we have a storm. Who knows? It goes right through the dune. It
correct.
creates an alleyway that's just a conduit for water to come through.
Okay.
And I happen to live in Town Bank, so I'm part of the Property Owners Association, and I'm not particularly eager to get those accesses where I am. I'm 14 feet high, so we have nice steps to take us down. I don't know how you'd even do the access. Would you put in new steps? I mean, those are questions that have to be answered. But what I would like to know is if and when you come in with this sidewalk, what happens to all the benches that people enjoy sitting and watching the sunset? What will you do about those?
My understanding, it'll be
relocated.
and put
Relocated
back
to
in
where?
place.
To where?
Right in the general area where they are.
Well, the general area drops off. Where I am, there's a.
Well, not always. Most of them are in an area that can be
I'm
relocated.
talking about my street,
Well,
Folsom. Okay, so.
We'll have to look at
on
your street
Folsom, where we-
specially. We'll have to look at your street specifically,
Okay.
okay?
Good, thank you.
You
But
got
you're saying that the benches will remain. So to push them back, to relocate them, you will have to disturb the dunes further.
No, I didn't say that at all. I said they'll
Okay,
be
so-
relocated. Some will
I'm
not.
asking where.
Well, that's to be determined. I mean, it depends on where they are. You said in your street, obviously it's different than some other places they can be moved because there aren't dunes there. Like
Okay,
down
but
the-
they're going to stay on the bay side.
Yes.
Possibly. We can't say definitely what's going to happen with the bench. They're in the right of way, so. Oh, wait, that gentleman, I know,
Right here.
that
this
gentleman
guy's
right there.
Yeah.
That,
Okay, well, just wait. Sir, you can come up with the hat on right here. I just want to be fair to everybody here. Yes, sir.
Chris Marlowe, 607 Seagrove Avenue, Lower Township. First, I want to tell you that I got the hat on because I get headaches if I get cold. It's not a sign of disrespect. Like Bob Rizzo, I'm a Democrat. I feel very strongly that people should get what they want. And I don't have any indication of whether people want this Bayshore project. Do you guys know?
a lot of people I talk to, yes. It's a very small
Miss-
group, no.
I have a question here for Mr. Ridgway. You were talking about the bond rating, that it had improved. What is the current bond rating?
AA.
And what was it previously?
Single A?
A?
I have to look at the last two audits, but
Okay, thank
why
you.
why don't you let me have an email address so I can also email you what the mean water line is, because the engineer.
I'll be in the office tomorrow. I'll be
Okay.
in there, no question about it.
No, but I would-
I'll be seeing you. You'll all be seeing me in there. It'll be the third time. My next question is about the animal control, going back to that. The leash law is not just for the beach. It's township-wide, and it's 24 hours a day.
I
So I'm
don't
on the
argue
beach
that.
every morning at 7 a.m. None of the dogs are on a leash. The owners all have a leash, and I approach them because animal control told me when I see someone who's disobeying the leash law, to approach them and say, are you aware that there's a leash law? And if they don't put the dog or the animal back on the leash, to call animal control. Will they come out at 7 a.m. in the morning?
I will answer that question when I talk to them. I think they'll come out anytime that they're in this area, but I know in the middle of the night, I've had complaints about them in the middle of the night. I do know they were excited because two of the inspectors that they were going to have this summer also lived here. So they keep we let them keep the vehicle here, and so I thought that would be a way to get better service also, instead of when they kept all the vehicles up in Seaville. So I would hope, but I have to ask,
Right, and my other question is going back to ownership, the property owners, and they are non-owner occupied properties. I did have somebody on the beach that I approached and said, are you aware that there's a leash law 24 hours a day? And are you aware that animals are not permitted on the beach between the hours of 11 a.m. and 4 a.m.? And that.
4
that-
p.m.
Or 4 p.m. rather, thank you. And that individual thanked me and said, we weren't aware of it, we're renting here for the month, promptly got up and took their dog and left. So again, it's an education process, and I think there's something to be looked in at for the council.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And just to let you know, the old signs were put back under the manager's thing because to eliminate some of the confusion about when dogs could be on or off the beach.
Hello, good evening. My name is Donna Reardon. I live at, I own property at 1700 Rose Hill Parkway, North Cape May. I just want to get this confirmation. Are the dunes being moved forward to the bay?
Certain individual dune, not the dunes as a whole. Certain individual dunes, like when you get down to Lincoln, where they're actually encroaching on the road.
Right.
They're going to be shifted towards the bayside. All the rest
Where
of the
they came
dunes are
from,
staying
basically.
where they're at. It's just that one dune.
So at Rose Hill Parkway, they're going to be moved?
It depends. In the plans, it tells detailed how the DEP wanted each individual dune in a dune series if it has to be moved, it's being moved a certain way. Kept at the same height. It has to have certain angles on it. Everything was detailed and laid out by the DEP on how to do that.
But how do you move a dune?
Well, the same
That's a
way-
good question. I'm not a dune mover.
Well, I'm not a
Well, that's what
We have experts that are going to do
That's what
that.
concerns me. And just yesterday, my husband and I got this many people, one day, maybe a couple hours, this many people do not want the dunes touched.
Okay.
Well, okay, what?
Okay, what do you want me to
What's gonna
say?
happen? I don't want you to touch the dunes. Now, I also attended the Open Space Committee last Tuesday, and I tried to share an article from the Philadelphia Inquirer, front page, Sunday, June 25th. And it had a lot of different points in it, but the main point was water level is rising on the Delaware Bay, supposed to rise quite a bit in the next 10 years. It talked about a community north of here, I think it was called Money Island, where many people's homes have been destroyed because of different water problems. I think we're in for more water problems, and I think any weather expert will tell you the water's getting warmer, there's going to be more hurricanes, and all we need is one more any more, really, to tell us how the dunes are important. I don't understand in this day and age how a dune can be messed with in any old way. I'm very passionate about this. I love North Cape May. I bought a house here because of those dunes. I don't want them touched. And I don't know if you know, you should know what's going to happen to the dunes because they protect us from the wind,
Ma'am, I'm
from
trying
the
to
rain.
get dunes in the villas built up. The dunes are highly important. We've been going over this numerous times. That's why we were talking FEMA. FEMA is about mostly the villas. North Cape May, the dunes are fine. Everyone admits that. All the scientific people, they're strong. Only certain people that aren't doing any research are saying there's a problem with the dunes down there. It's the villas FEMA's looking at. We're trying to build the dunes there. We're going to re-strengthen the dunes down North Cape May in certain areas, and in certain areas they're going totally, no one's even looking at them. We put the beach access to protect the dunes and blocked off people's private access that they had coming basically out of their front yard, crossing the street and going across the dunes. We blocked that to protect the dunes. Everything we're doing is trying to protect
But if you put
the dunes.
sidewalks in, you have to move the dunes. There's no space.
The dunes are coming off the
Let me
street.
clarify something. You used to be able to walk along where they're going to put the sidewalk, okay? Because I grew up here too. So it used to be able to. There used to be several feet. What happens is with erosion, like you're talking about, wind and rain, the dune moves. Okay, so a lot of that side, the west side is encroaching onto the road. So they're going to put that sand back where it came from. Is what's going to happen. So when you talk about destroying the dunes, I don't really understand what you're talking about. I mean, it's
Dunes take a long time.
At some
to build.
point, you could. I'm still talking. At one point, you could walk along Bay Drive. There were several feet to walk. Okay, several years ago. Since then, the dune is basically it's moved its way towards the road, towards Bay Drive. So I think what they're talking about is keeping the same dimensions, but moving that sand. Moving part of it where it came from. That's all. Replacing where hence it came from. That's all. So I hope that explains.
Well, so you're saying the only way to find out if the dunes on Rose Hill Parkway at that area are being moved is to look at the plans.
No.
Because it's different depending on where you are.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I don't have the plans in front of us, but we'll have to look at Roseanne,
Right.
or Rose Hill. I'm sorry, Rose Hill specifically.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, another question I have, and I'm still not real certain because I don't think you're certain. The other question I have is, I thought the Nature Conservancy deeded the dune area on the west side of Beach Drive, deeded that to the township on the condition that it would not be touched, period.
It was, from my understanding, Township bought it through a Stewart grant. It's zoned residential, but no one's planned, and the whole thing is do not develop it. We're not developing it.
Well, I think it was more than developing, though. It
Okay,
was
that's-
don't touch it. Don't do anything to it.
No.
That's
Not
what
from everything I've
I
learned and
understood.
I've been told, no.
I have seen the deed. Now, I don't understand the legal terms and the encroachment, but I didn't read it that way, and I want to know how you get that from the deed.
Legal experts.
So the only way, okay, well, I don't understand I guess you get a lawyer. Is that what you do? You're saying the lawyer reads it a different way?
I'm just telling you, we got it from a Stewart grant. We purchased it. That's it.
But it was on the condition that the dunes would not be touched.
No, that was not anywhere.
That's what
that
I
heard.
read today, because I did see the deed.
Okay. I can't argue with what you're saying, or because I don't know what you read, and I can't argue with your opinion because your opinion's your opinion.
It's not my opinion. It was right in the letter.
Okay.
So you're getting tired and you don't want to answer anymore?
No, what am I going to answer?
Oh, yeah.
It's
we don't
not my
have the letter
opinion.
in
It
front
was
of
in
us.
the letter.
Come on
It
up.
was in the letter.
I don't have a letter to read this.
Okay, so if I sent you the letter, you're saying, I mean, you must have it. You must know what I'm talking about.
If it's on the website, fine.
So then you should be, I think, an expert on what that says. I'm coming to you with a question. I'm a concerned citizen.
Okay.
I want to know
That
why
means
the
we should
Nature
look into
Conservancy.
it, but I thought that mean I'm an expert on every single thing in this.
Okay, well then, would you please, if I give you my email, would you please respond to me?
I will see you get an answer if you give me your email.
I will.
Go ahead.
I will.
Use it.
It's all right.
Mike Bundisky, again. I just want to react to this recent exchange about the dunes, and I think this exemplifies the kind of adversarial kind of relationship that has developed between your constituents and you as a body. And I don't know if it's intentional or not, but you know, Mr. Mayor, it comes across, whether you intend it or not, it comes across like there's a game of semantics being played here. Like we're saying, well, we're not moving the dunes. If you go back 60, 70 years ago, Mother Nature has moved the dunes onto the street over the past 3, 4, 5 decades. I don't think anybody's, honestly, with all due respect, going back to that far. When they say they don't want the dunes moved, it's a common layman's understanding. When you drive down Beach Drive, at the western edge, you see sand. That is the start of the dunes. And I think to say that we're not going to move the dunes, it's simple physics. There's a certain amount of frontage, footage-wise, from the front of the property line of the people that own homes on the east side to the waterline of the Delaware Bay. The project increases the width of Beach Drive by 1 foot. It's 31 feet. It increases it by 1 foot to 32 feet. So you're not moving the properties on the east side. The street itself is getting 1 foot wider. You're not moving the Delaware Bay west. So therefore, to expand the street 1 foot and put in 6 feet of walkway necessarily involves touching the dunes, which is what the layman's understanding is. It's not what happened over the past however long that the dunes encroached, and you need to move them back. So,
Sir, the problem is, and this is where you're getting the semantics. When we say dunes, we mean it's a habitat. It's an area. Each little hump in that area is a dune. Certain ones of the singular dunes have moved towards the street. We're putting them back into the dune section. We're not pushing it onto the beach.
I understand that.
We're moving it back into the dune area. Some places, our DEP said, there's a hole there, fill it in. But everything we have to shift to put this into the road right away is to shift it back into the dune habitat.
I understand.
And that's sometimes taking the sand from the east side of that dune and moving it to the west side.
right, I get you.
That's it.
But if you look at your own look at Mott's presentation, the before and after. I forget which street that was at.
And all they
escapes
had
me.
it was
no, but
straight, a sidewalk on the one side. That's it.
I know.
Didn't do anything with the dune.
Just hear me out.
Okay.
The photograph of the before and after that Mott presented on April 3rd, it's on your website. It's not down at Lincoln. It's further up where the sand is not encroaching.
It's about Franklin, I think.
What's that?
I think it's Franklin, around there.
No, it's beyond Franklin. Okay. But my point is, it's further north on Beach Drive where the sand is not encroaching. Yet still you can see there's a sidewalk there. So, I mean, I think we're playing semantics to say this project is not going to move the dunes. I mean, most common laymen, your constituents understand the dunes to be where the sand starts at the western edge of Beach Drive. You cannot put in a 6-foot walkway and not touch the dunes. It's just simple physics. I mean, at least be upfront and say, yes, we're going to move the dunes. We think it's necessary. We think we have to for this reason and that reason. But it breeds contempt on the part of the people that oppose this project and to you that support it when you play semantic games like that, in my opinion.
Okay.
So, you know.
All I merely stated was there used to be a buffer there, and
I-
it wasn't 6 decades ago, trust me.
Well, you said when you grew up, when you were small.
Well,
I don't know your age.
I'm
but
still growing up, all right? I'm still trying, but
the point is, we're not engineers. But you know, we're not stupid. We know a dune when we see it. It's sort of like that Supreme Court case. You know pornography when you see it. You know a dune when you see it.
And you know, encroaching onto
and
the road.
I agree. There's no doubt the sand is encroaching onto the road down by Lincoln. There's no doubt about that. No one disputes that. But surely you don't have to put a 6-foot wide sidewalk for 1.5 miles all the way from Lincoln up to Fernwood or Pinewood to deal with sand encroaching for 800 feet near Lincoln.
That wasn't the
I think that the point that I'm making, and we talked about process, I really would encourage you to step back and reflect on how this has been managed and come at this anew with an eye towards trying to get a view for what your constituents want. The majority of it. I'm not saying listen to me or listen to the opponents that spoke here tonight. Find out. Make an effort to find out genuinely what your constituents want. And then if the majority of your constituents want it, so be it. So be it. I can accept that.
I've been doing it for over 3 years.
Can I
But
just say
it's
something?
always-
Sir, ironically, you heard a woman, I think Ms. York, come in here and thank council about the Roseanne Avenue project. And if you go back and you look at the way this council handled that project, they brought the engineers in. They made them available for everybody in the township. They made them available for everybody from Roseanne Avenue. It's the exact same template that was followed in connection with the Bay Shore project. Exactly the same.
Yeah, but
we announced at a meeting, we had an informal presentation with the engineers who talked specifically and technically. You made a point that you're not an engineer, these folks aren't engineers either. The engineers were here. They told you exactly what they were going to do with the dunes. They explained it. What I remember them saying is, if we carve out 6 feet from the east side of the dune, we have to put that back onto the dune, whether it's the west
Right.
side of the dune or the top of the dune, to make sure we're still at the 16 feet elevation mark. Then, after the informal presentation, it was widely publicized that at the next meeting, Mr. Shrey would be here, and he was here. And the meeting was open to the public, and now everybody that either wasn't at that meeting or missed that meeting has deluded themselves into thinking that there was no such meeting or that these issues were never discussed. What other township, what other municipality would bring their professionals in and really subject them to cross-examination? I don't know if any township ever would.
Well,
and you keep asking, have you taken into consideration the majority of your constituency? That's their job. Their job is to
I'm asking them.
Their job is to assess and perceive whatever they think the majority wants. And obviously, if they wrote it 5-0, it's their perception that the majority of folks who use that.
I disagree with you now. I think you're going overboard now. You're assuming facts that are not in evidence.
I think
the way this has been handled by putting out a press release that specifically only solicits letters of support does not come across as a governing body seeking to understand the views of its constituents.
That press
It comes
release
across as a governing. Excuse me. It comes across as a governing body seeking to inflate support for a project that it fears doesn't have a consensus of support. I think I'm not familiar with the Roseanne project. The dunes are a special piece of real estate, I think, by anyone. You can't compare a project on Roseanne to touching those dunes. And I guess my final point is, again, I don't think I should be able to decide. I don't think the people that are opposed should be able to decide. I think it should be the genuine consensus views of your constituents that elected you. And I just, for the life of me, I don't understand why there's not a greater effort to really get at truly what that consensus view is and understand it. And in the meantime, you could put a pause on this and you could take very inexpensive, very innocuous remedial steps if you feel there's a need to, in a prophylactic way, dial down the risk on Beach Drive. There's steps that you could easily take that could alleviate that concern for while you embark on an effort to better educate. If you think your constituents are not well educated, it's your responsibility as the elected officials to educate them. But then get those views and then let it go where it goes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
We're just a couple people in the back.
Wait, I got someone with their hand up. Come on in the back. You can come up.
Scott Brown, Wilson Avenue, North Cape May. You know, I've been to a lot of these meetings. I hear everything going on. If you come out to these meetings and you listen for the last 2 or 3 years, you will have information on what's going on. You know, I'm born and raised here, 52 years old. I'm also a town bank fireman for 32 years. I've been out to a lot of calls on the beachfront, accidents, people getting hit, car accidents. You know, it never stops. It's only going to get worse. Our population is exploding. That's what people don't get. And these people are the weekend people that come down here on the 4th of July and overpopulate our area. We can't ride our bikes on the beachfront because of all the strollers, the runners, the cars. This project is great. I don't know what people don't get. And most of the people are the ones that haven't been here for 52 years. I understand the dunes. I get it. We're not moving the dunes. We are moving what has encroached on the road. That's what people don't get. Well, it's not rocket science. Thank you. Great job.
Mr. Rizzo, let me, who hasn't been up?
Who hasn't been up?
Excuse me, is that, Mr. Rizzo, wait a minute.
She's already been up.
In the back, please.
She's been up twice.
Is there anyone that hasn't been up? All right, come on up.
Reggie Wickinger, Washington Boulevard, North Cape, May. I fully support you guys, who you've been doing, our councilmen. I've been to come to quite a few of the meetings throughout the year, not every one. And what you've said and what you've published, it's been out there. Maybe they didn't see it, they didn't hear it. A lot of these same people that are opposed to it were also opposed to the walkways. Anybody that's down there in North Cape, May, and I imagine the Villas area, it's been a great improvement. Most of the people are very happy with it. You've done a good job with it. I also...
Excuse me, please show the same respect when you were up here, please. That's when you were up here.
When you are trying to get some funds from the open space to help save the local tax dollars to go into this product, I don't why they are opposed on that part of it, because that's what you're trying to do. You're looking forward, you're being forward-minded people, looking at how the population of people coming to this area are going to these beaches, and anybody who was down there over this recent holiday weekend, not just for the fireworks, could see the amount of people that were down there. That are on those roadways. A couple of the gentlemen are up here also were supporting you. I'm sure they're, like myself, walkers or bikers on that roadway quite consistently. And once you get, especially down from Emerson, down to Pinewood, where there are no sidewalks, all the bikers, the walkers, people with handicap, they have to be on the roadway. There's no way to get off the road because there's nothing else. So it's only a matter of time that something will happen, and nobody wants it, they don't. And from what I see, you've done all the studies, and I don't understand, I'm not an expert at, a lot of they are not. So I thank you for this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They got a chance.
Please be brief, or I'm going to
Yes,
cut you
I will
off.
be brief.
Thank you.
But I would like to address something that this gentleman just said, in that the bikers and what have no place to go. But it's my understanding they won't be permitted to ride their bikes on the sidewalk. Is that correct? So it doesn't address that issue. However, again, the reason I wanted to come up here is I wanted to ask, even with all these discussions, there's still unanswers. You know, there's still a lot of misinformation. So if I organize on my dime, if you guys want to have a town hall, he said everybody heard, that's not true. Like I said, I've got over 20 relatives here and their friends. People, taxpayers, voters, your constituents, they don't all know about this. You say it's the same people who oppose. That's not true. This is my first town hall meeting. I'm just learning about this. If I organize a town hall meeting, can somebody come, my dime, I'll make sure people know about it, invite both sides. I just checked with a friend of mine. She's a talk show host for CBS News. She agreed to come down. She's objective on this. She doesn't know anything on either side. I just said, hey, you're an objective lawyer moderator. Would you host a town hall? She said, absolutely. Would you guys make sure that someone is there? We'll do it on a weekend, perhaps the 14th, 15th, or 16th, right before your next meeting. Can you guys make sure someone's there?
This is the first meeting you've come to? How long have you lived here?
I've been coming down here. First meeting about this. I've been coming down here for 47 years.
Have you been to any other council meetings?
I've been involved in politics for the last 30
Have
years.
you been
I've
any to
involved-
our council meetings?
My father has. Daniel O'Donnell, you probably know him.
I just asked if you've been to any of them.
They all have.
Okay.
All right.
But you still get my tax dollars.
Yeah.
I am still affected by this, and I'm not the only one. There are a lot of people who are your constituents who don't know about this. If you won't have a town hall meeting, I'm asking you.
We've done them. We've had them.
A town hall meeting.
Yes.
When the people who are most affected by this will be here on a weekend in the summer, so that both sides
I hear
can
you.
present. Because
Unfortunately, we've done that, and you.
so
did
you're
not
saying you
attend.
won't come. Because here's the thing. If everything you're saying is true, I'll be the first one to applaud you when you put that shovel in the ground. If you're not going to ruin the dunes, if there's truly are assurances that it's not going to be development, but it seems there's a lot of inconsistencies.
Yes,
so
answer
in the
questions,
sake of
and you still don't believe anything anybody.
No,
Sometimes
you
people don't
haven't.
want to, you know, they.
No, you haven't.
No development.
You've
Everybody
said that there will
and
be
you're
no
still going
eminent
along with it.
domain needed. There's
Right.
Two people back here have lots that they own privately, those lots. They will have to be taken away if you
No.
break ground and start that. That's not true. That's not
Okay,
true.
see, that's what I'm saying. Okay.
You're saying that
Yeah.
you won't take away the dunes, but then you say you'll move them. We haven't explored why not just moving the sand and recovering that curb that already exists and then putting a bike lane in there.
That's basically what we're saying we're doing.
No, you're flattening.
okay.
You're taking away the
You got
dunes
your
and
shot.
All right, we
putting
agree.
them
Disagree. We have to.
So will you
Anyone else?
guys-
Anyone else
When
want
are
to
you
come
up
up?
for re-election? Just out of curiosity. Just out of
That
curiosity.
is totally inappropriate.
Look that up,
comment.
too.
No, that's not. Okay, I will. So you guys are saying you will not have someone. I thought it was being magnanimous, offering to organize this if you guys would have someone come there to answer everybody's questions.
Well, Mr.
you're
Donald,
saying
we've
no?
done that already. We've had several town hall meetings that you
not-
did not attend. Now,
But you're not
and I don't think
understanding
anything
this.
in
Not
here is
when
going
all
to change
the
your
peak-
mind.
No.
The peak of when all the taxpayers who are going to be affected by this, they're here in the summer. This fireman, which thank you for your service, where did he go? Complained that they all come down in the summer. So that's when this should be discussed. I'm saying let's, in the sake of transparency, let's do that. Let's discuss it. If you guys won't have a forum in the peak of when everyone's down here, I'll organize it. Will you guys send somebody? That's my only question.
Well, we've done it already. Who's up next?
So you're saying no. You're
Rizzo.
officially saying no.
Well,
So you,
this gentleman was.
I would have to say,
Okay,
it goes to
ma'am,
what
ma'am,
this guy
we
says.
have
It
other
looks like
people that
it's
haven't
something to
talked,
hide.
said short term.
Stanger, 603 Clubhouse Drive. I only have a question. What was the shoreline 100, 200 years ago? My understanding, it extended out somewhat than what it is right now. The importance is the dunes.
Correct.
We'd have
My
to-
understanding, there are some grade markers that are out in the bay that if you fly over on a clear day and the water's clear, you can see the grade markers. So the beachfront was out a couple hundred feet.
Well, I understand
Over
you
the
correct.
years, it has come in. So with climate change and the severity of storms, you might lose the beachfront. And you have already lost, I think, part of the beachfront, Beach Drive, during a severe storm back in the 60s.
That's why we're trying to do everything we can to protect it now.
What you need is a dune that is like where the lighthouse is, with rocks and grading.
Certain things we're not allowed to do because of the horseshoe crab and piping plover and stuff. Believe it or not. FEMA and all them are all looking into what we have to do to protect
Right,
that
but
beachfront.
The main thing is the shoreline was out more.
Yes. No one's arguing
Years
that.
it has come in.
And it's been kind of been kept at bay because we've been building the dunes for years.
It's the same in Cape May as well. All right, Mr. Rizzo. We saved the,
Just a very quick thing. I have a suggestion. We've heard all this time and time again. I've been coming to these meetings for how many years? 15 at least?
Yep.
I've heard them all. These people have just come lately and now they want to tell us what to do. My suggestion is this. We all have to pay our taxes August the 1st. Put a questionnaire on the tax thing. People come to pay their taxes. They can fill out a questionnaire and let them decide there what they can do or what they'd like to do. Really. I think overwhelmingly they're going to approve with your suggestions. These people are just, they've been talking and talking. That one lady took a half hour of our time. Mr. Mayor, you should set a time limit. People come up, give them 5 minutes, and that's it.
start using the gavel.
Thank
see?
you.
Thank you. All right, we close the public portion.
Resolution number 2017-208, a resolution providing for a meeting not open to the public in accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-12. This is to discuss attorney-client privilege and personnel issue.
Make a motion.
A second.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Perry?
Yes.
Councilmember Roy?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sippel?
Yes.
Mayor Simonson? And that is 9:20.
Oh, my goodness.